Shauna. On behalf of Eirigi, I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. We hear constantly about changes to the welfare system, welfare reforms, but what you really have are cuts to people's benefits. And hopefully the two speakers we have here tonight, Brendan McKinney from Eirigi, Agnes Fraser, welfare rights activist, will be able to go some way to answer any queries you have on it. When the two speakers have finished speaking, we'll then take any questions there are from the floor. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Brendan McKinney.
I think the biggest challenge facing everybody at the present time is to try and break through the whole silence about the welfare. Is that working? The whole package of welfare reforms that are gone. Complete lack of public knowledge regarding these cuts. An omnibus survey back in January of this year, only 55% of people that were surveyed were actually aware of the welfare reforms. Most of them hadn't heard anything at all. Certainly didn't know any details about the welfare reforms. So, the results of that survey alone just demonstrates how successful the Islamic parties have been in trying to state the debate around this. I don't think this is much better, is it? What we're talking about here is the potential within the Stormont budget for 500 million cuts and welfare benefits to the slice from the budget on an
Can't hear you, Brendan. Can't hear you at the back.
Is that any better?
That's better.
And only at the beginning of this month, NICFA published a report that they had commissioned that showed that these cuts could actually amount to £750 million a year. That's the equivalent of about £650 for every adult person in the 6 counties. Obviously, it's not in Stormont's interest to have a debate around this whole issue. And it's certainly not in Stormont's interest to inform the public what's coming down the tracks at them. Whether it's up at Stormont or at Westminster or in Minster House, the proponents of welfare reform would argue that reform is needed to move people there from benefits and into work. That's all very well, but those in the 6 counties who argue that ignore basic economic realities. The whole concept around Stormont's proposals is based on a false premise and availability of work. Those who say that if welfare reform is needed to move people away from benefits and into work, choose to ignore one simple fact. In the 6 counties at the present time, the 63,000 people officially classed as unemployed. There's another 55,000 amongst the economically inactive who also want to work. When you add that up, that's 118,000 people looking for a job at the present time in the 6 counties. You go onto the website, the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Industry here in the north, you'll see that there's only 5,000 jobs available at any one time in the north. So if they move all these people from the welfare system, where they're going to get the tens of thousands of jobs to get them into work, don't exist now. They're not going to exist in the next number of years. One of the other things that is ignored by those who advocate welfare reform is that a high proportion of those people who are on benefits like tax credits, housing benefits. Those people are already working. It's the low wage levels, which a lot of people are working for, that leaves them with no alternative other than to seek additional support from the welfare system. People in our communities need to be seriously concerned that the safety net of welfare reform is being removed at a time when it is needed more than ever. That concern should not be confined within the ranks of the unemployed or the ill and the disabled. Being at work in the 6 counties does not mean that working people do not experience levels of poverty. It's estimated that half of the children who live in relative poverty here in the north are within families where one parent is working. The term working poor is a growing reality in the 6 counties. We also have to take into account that many of the jobs that have been created in the north in the last number of years, and many of the jobs that we are told will be brought into the north in the next couple of years, are not full-time jobs. They're not permanent jobs. Instead, they're part-time. Many of them have only gross weekly pay averages of about £150 a week. People who are earning that level of an income need support of the welfare system. If we look at our young people, 22% of them are unemployed. 22% of young people aged 18 to 24. And if you put that in its proper context, the time of the Good Friday Agreement, when it was signed in April 1988, the youth unemployment rate was only 9%. The youth unemployment has increased year on year and every year since 1998. Some of you might have seen the Queen's University report that was published again earlier this year as part of the Poverty and Social Exclusion Project, which showed, and they're shocking figures, 14,000 families in the 6 counties cannot afford to eat 2 meals a day. That's the reality of life in the 6 counties. Thousands of householders are living without the basics, and the report found that for many families, things like meat, fish, fresh food, fresh vegetables are too expensive to consume every day on their limited incomes. Job losses, pay freezes, spiraling food prices were also blamed for the increasing levels of hardship, which have left 115,000 adults and children not properly fed by the best standards. We're not talking about the 1930s here, we're talking about the 2nd decade of the 21st century. We also look at the impact of increasing fuel prices. The proportion of families who are unable to heat their homes has also hit an all-time high. You all know what the cost of fuel is, the cost of oil. People in the last number of years were told gas is going to be the cheap option, get gas in. Now you can say how it's going, exactly the same way as oil. That has an effect on people's incomes. That has an effect on their decision at the end of the week or at the end of the month. Do we heat the house or do we feed the kids? That's a reality that a lot of families are living in. So, against this whole backdrop, what's going to be the impact of the welfare reforms? The entire legislation is entirely predicated on implementing further unnecessary cuts. And that view is not just my view, it's a view that's shared by the trade union movement, it's a view that's shared by many in the voluntary and community sectors. And it's a view that's also shared by many within the churches. The whole issue around welfare reform is a very basic one. It's essentially about how we, as people, view each other in society and whether we accept that each citizen should be treated equally, with respect and with dignity. It's about the basic right of every citizen to have the wherewithal needed to live a decent life without the threat of poverty or deprivation. And if we look at the contrast that has been going on within Stormont over the last number of years, one of the major campaigns within Stormont has not been to try to prevent cuts that impact upon working class families. The biggest campaign that all the parties within Stormont have agreed on is to cut corporation tax for big business. Continually they have lobbied over the last number of years to cut corporation tax. Now, the companies that pay corporation tax, for the lack of Bombardier, all FG Wilson, all the major companies here in the north, we're not talking about small shopkeepers. We're talking about companies that make tens of millions of pounds of profits every year. Stormont wants to give them a tax break. In order to give them that tax break, it's going to cost somewhere in the region of 400 to 700 million a year. Stormont's able to find that money to give the rich a tax break. It can also find the money to give the poor a break as well. The Stormont parties, over the last number of years, have shown where they stand when it comes to the rich versus the poor in our society. And if anybody's in any doubt about that, they only have to look at Stormont's record in the last 3 years alone. In December 2010, the Stormont parties agreed to implement a total of £4 million of budget cuts to public services right across the north from 2011 up to 2015. That's £1 billion a year over 4 years. Now those cuts have already impacted on health services, they have impacted on education, they have impacted on housing, they have impacted on almost every facet of our lives. They have resulted in pay freezes for all workers within the public sector. There has been a stop in recruitment within the health system and within the education system. Each and every party that sits around the executive table at Stormont are part of that cuts process. They have already implemented to date £2 billion worth of cuts. They have another 2 years in which they're going to implement another £2 billion worth of cuts. And if they have their way, they will also implement welfare reform. All of the Stormont ministers, without exception, are all equally culpable. Each one of them, within their department, are making cuts that impact upon the services that you expect to be delivered. They're making cuts that have resulted in the loss of frontline jobs within the public services. They have resulted in ward closures in hospitals. We have the hit list being drawn up over the last 2 years for the closure of schools right across the north, which again is going to result in even more job losses. It's also going to investigate communities as well, especially in small rural areas where the schools are often the focus for a community. But if you listen, whether on TV or on the radio or even in the press, the Stormont ministers collectively all sing from the same hymn sheet that they are not responsible for the cuts. Now, when they say that they're only doing what parties of austerity do everywhere, doesn't matter whether it's in Greece, doesn't matter whether it's in Dublin, doesn't matter whether it's in Belfast. They'll pass the buck, they'll deny responsibility and say they are compelled by others, by circumstances, to make cuts. The Free State can say it's the tribal, Greece can say it's the tribal. Here, Stormont parties can say it's Westminster. Maggie Thatcher once summed up that position that has now become the stance of all the political parties in Stormont, which is said there is no alternative. Well, there is an alternative. It's called taxing the rich. We make no apology for opposing the stance of the Stormont parties. We do so not to be different, we do so because it's the only politically and morally correct position to take. The reality is that over the coming years, once these cuts take effect, and they are already being implemented in some respects, it's going to be ordinary men and women, young people and children, many of whom are already bearing the brunt of cuts at the present time. They're the people who are going to be further penalised by welfare reform. It could be members of your family. I don't know. But one thing Jim is certain about, it is going to be your neighbours, people living in the same street as you, people living in the community. That's where it's going to be heading. And I suppose, in relation to welfare cuts, I can turn around and say, yes, I can give that whole background to it. We shouldn't forget that there's a human cost to all of this. You know, that every family who gets money cut, every adult who gets money cut, every old person who gets their money cut. There's a human story there. And over the last while, you know, I can think of a number of cases where I've represented people, tribunals and appeals. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming down the line. You know, a woman I represented recently in relation to incapacity benefit. She lost it. We have appealed it, and in the appeal papers that came out, the woman suffers from a degenerative disease. She uses a walking aid all the time. She's only able to climb stairs or anything like that. But in the opinion of the adjudicating officer, he or she said that in his opinion she was quite able to manually operate a wheelchair. Now, the woman to date hasn't been in a wheelchair and has resisted all attempts for a medical profession to put her into a wheelchair because she wants to remain a small bed for as long as she can. And yet now she's being told by the DHSS, no, you don't need that benefit, you should get a job if you get into a wheelchair. You know? Another case was in relation to carers allowance. We're actually seeing a 67-year-old man break down in tears at a tribunal. He had worked all his life. He retired a couple of years ago, but since then he became ill and had applied for a death allowance. And despite the initial evidence that he had been presented, where he actually had a consultant's report in relation to his condition, and where the consultant had actually said in the supporting evidence that he believed that the man would actually benefit from a tax allowance by having a carer all the time. The decision was thrown back. It was appealed. The appeal was thrown back. And eventually, at the end of 10 months, last month, and this had dragged on from December last year, it went in front of the tribunal. Now, the tribunal was able to say that the man was not fit himself, was completely incapacitated. I fell back there, he won the appeal. And that's been repeated day and daily right across the north. I'm sure Agnes will be able to give you plenty of examples about similar to that as well. But there's also other more subtle things happening as part of this whole thing of welfare reform. And some of you will know that our party members actually highlighted this down in Uri. That in Uri, the appeal hearings up until recently were held in Pollybot House. Now, Pollybot House is a newly refurbished, very big, well-maintained community resource centre in the centre of Europe. For years, appeals, tribunals have been heard there. Tribunal and appeal service are happy enough to have their appeals there. But a decision was taken to someone that in future all appeals in the Uri area are now going to be held in Uri Courthouse. Right? Now think about this. These are people who are trying to claim their rightful entitlements to welfare benefits. Right? Most people among them have never been in a courthouse in their lives. And now, as well as going through the whole process of appeals and tribunals, which can be difficult enough for many people, they're now faced with doing this within the setting of a courthouse. And I believe that you'll see, if it works in Uri, this will be expanded out to different places across the north, that even down beyond Winston, where the tribunals are now, we'll probably find that's going to lose the tribunals there and we'll move to Craigavon Courthouse. Because it's all part of a mindset that criminalises people from benefits. That's simply what it is. There's no justification for moving the appeals in Uri from Holybolt House to the courthouse. But I believe that if that's proved to be successful, and through the fact that it will deter people from taking appeals and going to tribunals, that's the point of it. So if it is successful in doing that, then you'll find that different parts of the north, instead of going to council buildings or community settings for your appeals, so we're going to courthouses. Because that's to put it right into your head that you're being treated the same as a criminal for learning to claim your rightful entitlements. Where do we go from here? Well, I think that, as I said at the beginning, there is a whole wall of silence around this whole issue of welfare reform. There is a need for the issue to be out there because, while we're talking about so-called bedroom tax, while we're talking about the replacement of the LA with the new PIPs, while we're talking about the replacement of job seekers with DSA or whatever, doesn't matter what you're talking about. We need to get this message out into our communities that people need to stand up and be accountable for this, because it is going to be one of the biggest challenges facing working class communities right across the north. If you look at it, any of the figures you wish to look at, even here in Western Belfast, it's a well-known fact this is one of the highest levels of deprivation in the north. What impact are these cuts going to have on families who are already surviving on 100 to 200 pounds a week? At the city, their benefits are going to be cut by 10, or 20, or 30, or 40 pounds a week. Because that's what could possibly happen here. And it's certainly not about getting people from work or from welfare into work. Because as the figures show earlier on, you have 113,000 people looking for a job in the north and only 5,000 jobs available. What happens to the rest of them? I think each of you here, obviously, it's all very well having meetings like this, but we need meetings like this almost in every state, in every estate, in every town right across the north. I think that the best thing that could happen out of here tonight is that when you leave, it's almost like a close-up meeting, I want to say this, When you leave here tonight, what you need to do is to seek out 2 or 3 other people in your own street or your own community, your own neighbourhood. They also feel the same about this as you. They also want to change the system, to start working with them to build some sort of resistance, some sort of community resistance to the cuts. And it doesn't matter if you're only starting off with 2 or 3 or 4 people. The most important thing is to make a start. You can use the existing community structures. That's what they're there for. That's what a lot of these community organisations that exist right across the north, I know even the ones that I belong to in Portadown, Brumley Community Trust, it's very clear within our own constitution that one of our duties is to fight poverty. That's what this campaign in relation to opposing welfare cuts is about. It's opposing the imposition of poverty. And if community groups, for whatever reason, aren't willing to take it on within your neighbourhood, but then form alternative structures to them and replace them. Go ahead and campaign. You can build solidarity with other groups and other communities. Find out where there are groups in existence, whether in Belfast or Derry or Tyrone or Armagh or wherever. Start making links between groups, whether they're community groups, political groups, single issue groups, whether it's disability action, whoever, fighting for one specific interest group. Make links with them. Build networks of resistance. And above all, it's about educating your families, educating your neighbours about the full extent of the cuts. The cuts that are being implemented at the present time of £1 billion a year. The £2 billion that are still to be implemented, and at least £500 million of welfare cuts that Stormont has to implement as well. It's only through that we're going to break the silence that the Stormont parties have imposed on this. And if we can break through that silence, well, it's by holding local meetings, well, it's holding small meetings like this, well, it's raised the issue with any groups that you're a member of, in care of as a GAA club, in care of as a community association, in care of as a tenants association, but get it on the agenda and ask the committees to formally oppose any cuts. It can be as simple as writing letters to the papers, but it's the Amherst Town News or the Irish News or the Belfast Telegraph or whatever. To get the message out here, ask where is the big campaign. Ask where the trade unions are in this as well. Because the trade unions will come and ask for support as in relation to cuts for them. So we need their backing and their mobilisation on this as well. And I believe it will come. But above all, the success of this is to actually challenge a mindset that's out there. And it actually exists within our own communities too. It exists within working class communities. That somehow or another, there is no alternative. There is no way we can prevent this. There is. To prevent it, standing up for your rights. Standing up for your neighbours' rights. Standing up and saying, no, we've had enough haircuts. We're taking no more. Or I mean on my own.